Welcome back, everyone. Today, we're continuing to explore 10K. We'll look at items number 2, items number 3, and items number 4 within the 10K, and we'll see if we can get to item number 5. There's a lot of information included in these 10Ks, and my goal is to make it as easy as possible for everyone to see and to understand. You can also see I switched my camera location. I'm interested in exploring other options when I'm doing my video. So make sure to tune in to the behind the scenes episode for more conversation and potentially more information around that. So without any further ado, let's talk about these extra items in a 10K. We're heading back to Tesla, so we're gonna do that now. Here we go. Okay, and we're back in the Tesla year-end 23 financial statements here. We're going to be looking at their annual report again. We're going to look at section 2, or item number 2. So that is properties. Let's get to it. In this section, they talk about where the entity is headquartered. They talk about where their other properties and locations are, and you can see whether they lease those locations or they own those locations. This can be super interesting because it can provide you insight into where they're considering building, what they already own, and what their real estate is, and maybe some of the potential risks associated with that. Because being in Austin, Texas, is very different than being in Fremont, California. There's significant differences in those locations. And so right here in the in the summary itself, it tells you all of these extra little details about those different properties. So you can see they only have 2 little leased locations, a mega factory and a gigafactory up in Buffalo, and then they own the rest. One in Germany, one in China, which is kind of they own. Chinese property law is very unusual, so that doesn't always line up directly the way it does here in the United States. So they've provided a little bit of extra information there. And that's it. That's item number 2. Item number 3 is legal proceedings. This one is much more substantial for a company like Tesla because it can be much more significant for a company like Tesla. In this case, it's really not. And that's because they've just referenced Note 15. Note 15 is the commitments and contingencies note. And so what they've done here is they've pointed you to the financial statements to see additional information around their pending legal situations. It's very possible that a company, if they don't have a lot of exposure to legal issues, that they may just include them here for clarity. But it's off. I wouldn't be surprised if, as we go through this and look at other companies, they all make this reference to the notes of the financials. The reason that they'll do that is because the notes to the financials require this disclosure, and so you'll always see some kind of additional guidance related to this particular thing in the actual financial statement footnotes directly. And then item number 4, which is a very specific um, disclosure that's included in 10Ks, is related to mines. Obviously, Tesla doesn't have any mine locations clearly, and so because of that, they don't have anything to report here. The next section is really the start of part 2. It's a little bit more detail about the entity itself, and in this one, item 5 is a summary of the company's stock, its stock positions, its equity, and the equity securities that are associated with the company. And so you can see that they've provided that information here. They also, especially if you're looking to invest in the company, give you some extra information and insight that can be really valuable. Obviously, you'll have lots of history related to company dividends or those types of things, but they're going to include their dividend policy. Tesla hasn't ever paid dividends, and they don't expect to going forward either. And so, because of that, that can be something that can help you to understand how your money is going to be utilized or how your return is going to come back to you. They also have included a stock performance graph. You can see that that's their, as we mentioned in our last episode, they're kind of all over the place. So it's not a huge shock. And then they talk about any unregistered securities. This would be or unregistered sales of securities. This would be like stuff outside of the SEC. And then affiliated purchasers and they haven't done any of those things either. And so that's it. That was it. That's section 2, 3, 4, 5, and it looks like 6 isn't even being utilized. So 6 as well. That covers a lot of information and a lot of data, and leads us into some more significant conversations around item 7, and the fun one like item 8, which is the financial statements themselves. So should be an exciting time in our next episode as we'll get into management discussion and analysis and talk through what that means, what information you can find there, and how interesting it can be. And then the time after that, I'm sure we'll get to the actual financial statements themselves. We'll start to dig into that. So this has been episode number 4 of our series on evaluating and reviewing 10Ks. Again, today we talked about item number 2, item number 3, item number 4, item number 5, and item number 6. We covered a lot of things. And I hope that it's been interesting for you. Thank you for watching.